glad you're here. We hope you have a wonderful weekend. For those of you who don't know me, Benji Tarbutton from Sandersville, Georgia, and I'm the 2016 chairman of your association. So welcome you all here. I see a lot of familiar faces, and if there are some folks here I don't know, I look forward to getting to know you over the course of the weekend. So thank you again for being here for our weekend together. As you know, the mission and the vision of the Georgia Forestry Association is to try to align interest across the state to protect your forestry assets as landowners, as mill owners, as operators across the supply chain. We want to connect you with meaningful resources from an educational standpoint so that you can be better served in your operations and your activities with respect to your assets. And also you can be more empowered and engaging with leaders and members of the community at large to tell the story of forestry in a way that they can relate to and that adds value in their understanding of what we do each day. I think that the association is doing a phenomenal job of that. Today, we're certainly going to be facing some challenges going forward, but the industry's in a great place today. The association's in a very strong position, and we're very proud of it. So, and I know you all are as well. Before we get started, if you would just bow your heads for a short prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for this day and the opportunity to get together with friends. Lord, thank you for our forest resource, and guide us as we manage what you have provided us so that we make decisions that are pleasing to you. Bless those that are here today and their families, and give us wisdom, Lord, to honor you through our actions. In Christ's name we pray, amen. Next, before we get started with the business session, if we could have the pledge of allegiance, if you would all stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce our president, Andres Villegas, to give the sorry, Andres, I stole your prayer. We were going through all the things that we had to do over the course of the weekend, and I saw that I had to give a series of prayers, so I went ahead and just took an extra one for you.
All right, I'd like to invite Dan Roach. Dan, if you're available, to come up to the stage. We have a special dedication that we're going to dedicate our annual business session to, and it's going to handle that for us.
Thanks, Iris. Quick show of hands. And I'm looking at Georgia Forestry right here. How many people either knew Rob Olszewski personally or knew Rob Olszewski's work? Everybody. The dedication that Andres is talking about is dedicating this meeting to Rob Olszewski. April this year, we lost Rob to cancer, and I know cancer places everybody's life, but I've got a short little statement I'd like to read to you about Rob. First of all, it's a great honor to be able to take a few minutes to talk about a person that I consider to be an absolute icon of the forest industry. It's an even greater honor to talk about that person because he's one of my best friends, Rob Olszewski. I know Rob so well that I even know how to spell his last name. Without looking, Olszewski. And for the record, I can spell Weyerhaeuser too, if that comes up. This is not all serious about Rob. And his last name is the reason everybody called him Robbo. Robbo was a fearless champion of the forest. I used to give him a hard time about not being a real forester because he was a forest ecologist. He was a strong voice for the clean water that we help create every day from our forested watersheds. Rob should be happy right now because I said forested watersheds. He wasn't just a champion, he was a gifted problem solver. When a huge national issue like forest roads came up, he'd sit down and think, then he'd call a few friends, then he'd figure out what the real problem was, then he'd determine who the decision makers were, then formulate a plan. He had an almost uncanny knack for picking out those staff people at those agencies that needed to be convinced so that they would go to their bosses and influence the decision. There was never a cookie-cutter approach. There was a unique solution to every problem for every issue because each issue was just as unique as a stand of timber. Every forest landowner in the U.S. owes Rob a debt of gratitude for his accomplishments. I found myself on numerous occasions since his passing in April this year saying to myself, what would Rob do? Robbo was so good at influencing people, he helped folks in D.C. make decisions even after he died. Here's the example. June 28th, that was just 3.5 weeks ago, was the day the U.S. EPA announced that they would not pursue additional national regulation on forest roads. That was a big deal. That was huge. It was also somewhat of a surprise. The EPA press release had a name that I recognized on it. It was Prasad Chumble. How many people in this room know Prasad Chumble? Nobody. Okay, Rob insisted that we have a BMP symposium sponsored by McCasey. He insisted that the venue be at Virginia Tech. The reason Virginia Tech was because it was close to DC, because there were people in DC that he wanted to make sure heard this message about BMPs. He also insisted that the date be picked so that Prasad Chumble could be at that Virginia Tech BMP symposium. Prasad showed up. We took turns in the woods working Prasad. And finally he told one of us, you guys really know what you're doing. BMP's work. I happened to be in DC on the day that that press release came out, and in one of the House offices, and I was talking to Chip Murray, who's the attorney for NAFO. And I told Chip, I said, this has to be a gift from Rob. As if to confirm that it actually was a gift from Rob, I reached into my jacket pocket that day, and I pulled out one piece of paper, and it was a photograph of Rob Olszewski from his memorial service, and I wore the same jacket at his memorial service. A noted theologian, Dr. Seuss, once said about a life well lived, he said, don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. All lives will end, but we can just smile about the good times we had together. Now, I've cried more than a couple of times because I lost my friend Rob. But many more times, I laughed, thinking about all the great times we had together. Either in the woods, on OTCO, which is an acronym for Olszewski Timber Company, his own little timber company, or convincing the Fish and Wildlife Service that we're good stewards of the forest, persuading the EPA that BMPs really do work, and the forest roads are in good hands. They're in good hands because they're in our hands. I had a dream about Rob the night that he died. It was very simple, but I woke myself up laughing. Rob was up to his knees in clouds, so he was obviously speaking to me from heaven. And he said, this place is cool. The beer's always cold, and I've only met 3 politicians. I didn't say that, Rob said that. So thank you, Rob, for all you did for us. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for giving us an example when tackling the difficult situations that we all face now and in the future. Because of Rob, our forests are greener, our water is cleaner, and all of us who knew him are better people because he was in our life. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. That was an outstanding dedication to Rob. And, you know, I didn't intend to work with Rob as much as Dan did, but Rob and I were part of a very special club. It's a very special, very small club of people with last names that are impossible to pronounce, especially the forest parks. So, yeah, I'll miss him a lot for that too as well. But yeah, it was our pleasure to be able to dedicate this business session to his memory. And thank you so much again, Dan, for sharing your thoughts and your memories of him. I get to follow that up with unfortunately with the antitrust, so that's not the most exciting thing to talk about, but We'll make sure that we, in our interest, that we don't discuss the fixing or regulating of prices, the discussion of trading areas, limiting or restricting the quantity of products that we produce, discriminating against or excluding competitors. Now, if a questionable topic is about to be discussed in connection with any gathering, whether or not a formal meeting, that discussion should be stopped and not resumed until approved by legal counsel. So, if there's anyone who isn't comfortable with the direction discussion's going in, please let that be known. Okay, I have to apologize. On our agenda, we have a vote for the minutes, but we did not provide you with those minutes from last year's annual session. So we're going to take a pass on that. No, I'm not going to describe that. I apologize for that. And we're going to go ahead and on to Tom Trimbath, if you will, with a financial report.
Okay, sorry. Good afternoon. I'm pleased to report once again that your association continues to operate on a healthy financial footing and with a stable membership base. The association's operating funds as of June 30, 2016 were $338,672. The reserve funds as of June 30, 2016, $397,835. A couple of items to note related to the 2016 June year-to-date fiscal status. At June 30, 2016, total income of $788,715 exceeded total expenses of $442,517. This compares to June 2015 year-to-date income of $769,109 and expenses of $405,628. With respect to year-to-date income, there are no categories of concern. However, it is important to note that additional dues income is expected in Q3 and Q4. With respect to year-to-date expenses, expense categories are aligned with the budget. As compared to 2015, salaries and the legislative reception are the two items that have increased expenses for the association. The association continues to adequately balance its expenditures with its revenues while being committed to meeting GFA's mission to be the leading advocate for a healthy business and political climate for Georgia's forest environment, forest landowners, and forest-based businesses. As always, please contact me with questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. All right, it's now my pleasure to introduce Robert Ferris, Director of the Georgia Forestry Commission. He's going to provide us with an update as to where the commission is. Robert.
Thank you, Andres. I want to give y'all a very quick update on a couple of items before I focus on an area that we really need your assistance with. First update is, it's been well over a decade since we've seen epidemic infestations of southern pine beetle, yay. But I want to let y'all know that with our aerial mapping and ground checking, we've currently identified 68 infestations in southeast Georgia. And northeast Florida is experiencing more of the same. So y'all keep an eye on your timber out there. Another growing threat to Georgia's forest is the expanding emerald ash borer. We continue to find growing infestations through our trapping programs. And this past fall, we expanded the quarantine to 19 counties in the state. And we very much expect this upcoming fall, with the trapping that we're doing this summer, to have to further expand that quarantine on the movement of ash wood. On a positive note, we've experienced the lowest number of fires on record this year. and we've experienced the lowest number of acres lost to wildfires this past year. But again, as a heads up, we're transitioning from a El Nino weather system to a La Nina weather system. So we are projecting increasing wildfires throughout the South in different areas, as well as increasing the intensity of those fires. The area I'd really like to focus on today is timber transactions. With the change in the law, the Georgia Forestry Commission began investigating timber transaction complaints in 2014. In 2 years' time, we've investigated 213 complaints involving nearly 7,500 acres and over $1 million worth of timber. We've recovered $215,000 worth of timber, or dollars for the landowners, and we filed 12 criminal charges or arrests. Some of the most common issues we found include, and mostly, a lack of communication between the buyer and the seller. We've encountered trespass, cut across property lines, vast majority of that unintentional, but we have found some trespass with intent, cut or damaged trees that are not designated for harvest, incomplete payments, no payments, or no payments within the required 20 days of harvest. And then we've seen usual harvest contract issues not being followed, and more trees being harvested than were documented and paid for. And this last bullet item, inaccurate and incomplete scale tickets, is the area where we really, I don't know why it's digging up here, but that's the area we really need your help. And that's what I'll focus my comments on. These scale tickets are the only means that we have of identifying where low timber was harvested. The incomplete or inaccurate scale tickets that our law enforcement officers are making tracking harvested timber extremely difficult and impossible in some cases. And then beyond that, there are also times that these inaccurate tickets are creating concern and distrust amongst our landowners out there, questioning whether they're actually getting paid for all the timber that was harvested on their tract. Georgia law states that timber sellers shall receive an accurate scale ticket for every load harvested when the timber is sold by weight or volume. The scale ticket has to be provided to the seller within 20 days of harvest. The information on the ticket must be accurate and clearly understandable, including the tract name. Not providing the ticket within the timeline or providing inaccurate information is a misdemeanor for each load of timber delivered. The following 11 items are required by law to be on all scale tickets. The law doesn't specify the format of that information, and a number of mills put additional information on those scale tickets for a variety of different business reasons. But every scale ticket must have these 11 items. They must be clearly understandable and on every ticket. The bold items are those items that we're commonly finding either missing or inaccurate on scale tickets. Name and location of the person or company in its facility where the load of wood is received, the tract name, the county, and the state of origin. Also, we're seeing problems listing the species of wood and the name of the person receiving, weighing, or scaling the wood. We're encountering a number of concerns with incomplete and inaccurate scale tickets, including complaints from landowners that are unsure and questioning whether they're being paid for all their timber. Likewise, missing information or errors on the county of harvest can lead to concerns whether the proper taxes are being reported and paid on those harvests. Our investigators are finding timber buyer records that don't match mill records, including timber reported to the landowner with the mill having absolutely no record or tickets or loads for that landowner. And we're seeing multiple landowners reported on one tract and we're unable to track that load, which loads go to which landowner. Additionally, we're encountering problems with tracks being listed simply as Gatewood, with track location being listed as Gatewood. Without accurate track information, harvest location is often untraceable. We're finding Gatewood tracks, quote Gatewood tracks, with inaccurate county of harvest designations, and we're encountering challenges tracking those harvests where dealers are not matching the timber buyers. How do we fix these issues and concerns? We need your help. We need your help with ensuring complete and accurate scale tickets. And yes, we do recognize that mills have to rely on the information that the loggers are providing. We need all of us to work together on education, outreach, voluntary compliance, and enforcement efforts. Forestry Commission has mailed over 600 letters to industry, mills, buyers, and consulting foresters trying to communicate this information. Also, the Sustainable Forestry Initiative through their Master Timber Harvesters Program and the Southeastern Wood Producers is helping us get the word out on this. And of course, we've been speaking at events like this. If there are any particular operational issues, concerns, or conflicts, or there's something that we, the GFC, can do better, I encourage each of you here to voice your thoughts and concerns with me. We'll also have our Associate Chief of Law Enforcement in the back, Billy Leach, and we'd love to talk with you about those. And I do have a few examples of scale tickets that I'd like to get with some of you in the room here before the meeting's over. We all want legal and sustainable harvests that are profitable for all involved. And we also all want to make it more difficult for those very few individuals who want to take advantage of our forest landowners. So thank you for your time and attention, and please do let me know how it can be of further service. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Ferris. Now I'd like to ask Dr. Dale Green, Dean of the Warren Allen School of Forestry and Natural Resources at the University of Georgia.
Well, good afternoon. It was just a year ago that I got to thank y'all for all your support for not only helping me become dean, but to also get some new positions at the University of Georgia, 3 new extension or outreach positions, and we've also been busy filling some vacancies, including one that I created with my move to the dean's office. So it's my pleasure today to introduce you to 2 of our newest faculty members. Elizabeth Benton joined us last month in Tipton. Elizabeth finished her PhD at the University of Tennessee, and she's our outreach forest health specialist. And it sounds like she's going to be busy right away based on what Robert Ferris shared with us. And also with us today is Joe Conrad. Joe has earned his PhD at Virginia Tech, but he's been at the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point the last 4 years, and he's stepping into my slot, and we're delighted to have them here in Georgia and here at the annual meeting. So please take advantage of this opportunity. To get to know them, and I assured them they have no greater allies in doing their jobs than this group, and I know you've already showed them that. So we, including Elizabeth and Joe and Mark McConnell, who joined us in February, we have 6 other faculty members that will be joining us before November 1st, and so we're looking forward to that and all the new energy and excitement that some new colleagues brings. Our enrollment numbers remain strong and steady. Job placement continues to be particularly strong for both our soil and water majors and forestry. We thank many of you who have hired our students as interns this summer. If you'd like to do the same next summer, and we sure hope you do, you need to come early this fall because we're continuing to enjoy a very strong job market. We had a good year this past year doing several things. In addition to filling some faculty positions, we updated our strategic plan, and I'm sure there will be copies of that at our booth that you can pick up later. And I just want to thank so many people in this room who continue to help us have a strong future through the private giving that you provide to us. I just want to thank several folks here. First, Warehouser, who's picked up what used to be the Plum Creek Golf Tournament in the fall that benefits our Center for Forest Business. That will again take place this fall, this year on Friday, September 30th, again at the Georgia Club. And the day after that, we open the conference schedule at home, the home schedule against Tennessee. Our homecoming is Saturday, November 15th against Vanderbilt. We'll have a tailgate for that and our usual activities associated with homecoming. On the private giving side, we've had several things happen I do want to share with you. We have 5 new graduate fellowships that cover the cost of fees that graduate students have to pay on top of an assistantship. And I want to thank the Cooper and Rhodes families for helping make that happen through their gifts of land to the school a few years ago. We have several classrooms that have been named to recognize the generosity of different groups. Our Young Alumni Committee helped us redo a computer classroom, so now it's a place for students to work together with their laptops. That's our Alumni Legacy Room. We've named a room in recognition of gifts from the Harley Langdale Foundation and also from Southern Pine Plantations. And Tom Norris has picked out a room where he had some blood, sweat, and tears during his time there that the Norris family is going to have named for them too. We want to thank all of them. The most recent good news that I'll share with you is after a year of discussions with them, last week the Boone and Crockett Club has agreed to place their next endowed wildlife conservation program, and it's first in the South at the University of Georgia. So they've committed to bring $2.5 million to our program, which we're going to match, and we will have one of, I think, 5 or 6 of those programs. And again, the only one in the South at UGA, and Bridget Harden has worked hard on that over the last year with me and some of our other supporters, particularly on the wildlife side. So thank you again for all of your support, and we look forward to enjoying another GFA annual meeting with you. Thank you.
I'd like to say, Dr. Green and Director Ferris are doing wonderful things at their respective institutions and moving the ball forward here for forestry in the state. So thank you so much for your service. We know it's a lot of work, but it makes a difference. So thank you. Someone else who's making a difference is our next. I need to talk a little bit about the Forestry Association. I'm going to make this real quick because I know that we're running a little bit over. Our mission hasn't changed. But very important, the faces on this screen here, our people are what make us work. Our people are the ones that engage in our communities. Our people are the ones that talk to elected officials and talk to their schools and talk to the folks in the community about the good story of forestry. And so that's why that is the fundamental element of the Georgia Forestry Association, people. So thank you so much for what you do, and thank you for continuing to be engaged. I know that that's something that we all have other things in our lives that can take us away from GFA, but we certainly ask you to continue to support us. Our mission won't change, but I can tell you what we really want to make sure people know is that every one of our members is connected, is protected, connected, and empowered. We protect you through our advocacy. We connect you through events like this to each other and to elected officials like the one that we'll have speaking here in a few minutes. And hopefully we're giving you the tools to be empowered to go out there and be advocates for forestry across this entire state and outside of the state. We need you, and so that's not going to change. No matter how good of a job I do alone and the rest of the GFA staff, we will always need members and people in the state who are engaged. Real quickly on advocacy, we've done a great job building our PAC. We need to continue building it. That's not something that we ever let go of, and so you're always going to hear me say this. But if you contribute, I won't bother you that much. So that makes it a little bit easier. And then on membership, we've got a membership drive. We've started the Forest Kids membership for all those of you who are grandparents or parents of small children. We're looking at what we can do to make sure that that next generation of forestry leaders, we get them early, and we start them in here early, and they know what it means to be a part of something special, a family in our industry. On management, we've done a lot. We've overhauled almost our entire IT system with new servers, new sonic walls for safety, new Salesforce database. We've done a lot of things to really take us to the next level. Our internet speed went from 3 megabytes to 30 megabytes, so we can actually send emails now, things like that. So more efficiently anyway. So we're trying to do as much as we can to make ourselves efficient. And our foundation is going through a strategic review that is really designed to help us tell our story to 9.8 million Georgians, and in 20 years, 14 million Georgians, so that they all understand that every breath they take depends on our trees. And the products that they use every day depends on our landowners having strong private property rights, access to markets, and sensible regulation. And so from that perspective, we're working on a foundation that can help move the needle outside of the Gold Dome with every single Georgian in the state. So that's where we've been this year. We're not letting the grass grow under our feet, so we're moving fast and doing things that we need to do to make a difference. With that, I'll go ahead and transition to someone else who's made a tremendous difference for Georgia. It's not everyone in this world that's suited for the political life. It's brutal in more ways than one. Physically demanding, emotionally demanding, intellectually demanding. We're very, very fortunate as an association today that our U.S. Senator Johnny Isakson has agreed to come and spend some time with us. Senator Isakson is a businessman who built a respected record of public service to the state of Georgia. One of the things I found out 2 weeks ago that's not easily found online on his bio, from the age of 7 to the age of 14, he spent every summer on his family farm in Fitzgerald, Georgia. 200-acre farm, 50 acres of that in pecans, and 150 acres of that in trees. He's lived what we live every day. He knows why we love our land, why we love our businesses, why we need markets. That's been a part of who he is. And so we're very fortunate that Senator Isakson shared that little note with us when we were out visiting with him with Brian Teller and the Agribusiness Council a few weeks ago. As a business leader, he led the development of Northside Realty for 20 years. It became one of the most successful real estate agencies in Georgia and in the Southeast, and one of the largest in America. He served 17 years in the Georgia legislature, and 2 years as chairman of the Board of Education, so he understands education and the challenges that we all face there. He served 3 terms in the U.S. House of Representatives, and now is in his 2nd term in the U.S. Senate. I want to ask everyone here today to please give a very warm welcome to Senator Johnny Isakson.
Dan, I can tell you the tribute to your friend Rob was fantastic, but I want to make one clarification. 3 politicians he ran into were only visitors, they're no permanent residents. I am delighted to be with the Forestry Association, delighted to be here for many reasons. Forest industry is a tremendous industry to our state. We have 25 million acres of forest land in Georgia. 66% of our state is covered by forest land. The 2nd largest contributor to our overall economy, $23.6 billion a year, employs 108,000 people. It's very important and very critical, and most important, Nathan Deal told me to be sure to mention that, how much he appreciates the $448 million in state income taxes you pay every year in the state of Georgia. So I'm delighted to be with taxpayers. When I speak to any group or go visit, I always say thank you. Politicians are always talking about what they're going to do to you or for you. I want to thank you for what you do for us. If you didn't pay the taxes that let us run this great country, this great state, we wouldn't be the United States of America. We'd be something else. And we owe the business, private sector, and American business everything in terms of our state. Now, I know when I got to Washington, which now is 18 years ago, the softwood lumber issue with Canada was a huge issue. I mean, it was a war, as a matter of fact, and they had retailers in the lumber business like Home Depot on different sides, the Georgia foresters and the Canadian people trying to stick it to you, and they were doing a pretty good job of it. And I walked right into the middle of that. Fortunately, by 2006, we got an agreement in softwood lumber agreement that lasted until 2015, last year. That agreement is now over, and I know all of y'all are very interested in what step we take to go forward. 23 of us in the Senate have written a letter to Bob Froman, who's the ambassador for trade for the United States of America, to negotiate hard and negotiate in the interest of the landowners and forest owners of America. See to it, if we get an agreement, it's a good, fair agreement. But if we don't get an agreement, for us to be sure we exercise every single right that we have under the law to keep Canada from subsidizing or unfairly competing with the United States of America and the forest growers of the United States of America, and in my interest, the forest growers of Georgia. From low stumpage fees and things of that nature on public lands to the other ways they can in fact subsidize that lumber is not right. And I want to see to it that everything we can do possible in our negotiations gets a fair and equitable deal for all of you. But the most important thing is this. If we don't exercise our rights under trade agreements, we'll get run over every single time. The politics of trade agreements must be to enforce your rights every time. If you do that, you'll have a much better economy overall, and you'll be much more respected in the world. Chickens are a big product in Georgia, as most of you know. In fact, Delaware and Georgia and Arkansas are the three biggest producers of chicken. And the Africans have closed their markets to chickens for years. And we did the African Growth and Opportunity Act 2 years ago, and I'm on subcommittee chairman of the Trade Subcommittee of the United States Senate Finance Committee. So I decided I was going to try and see if we couldn't exercise a right under the African Growth and Opportunity Act to break down the barriers against Georgia poultry going into South Africa. We finally went to South Africa. Chris Coons, a Democrat from Delaware, and myself, and met with the finance minister and the trade minister of South Africa, and said, you know, you guys are using the African Growth and Opportunity Act to export BMWs built in South Africa into the United States with no tariff or fee. Yet you won't allow any American chicken coming into South Africa. So if you don't change your policy, we're going to put tariffs on your BMWs to make sure that we too can play the same game. I'm proud to tell you that February the 19th of this year, the first 10 tons of Georgia chicken left Savannah on its way to South Africa. And with this year, they will buy 65 million metric tons of Georgia poultry and Delaware poultry and Arkansas poultry. That's what you call enforcing your rights under trade agreements and making sure what's good for the goose is also good for the gander. So in terms of lumber, I'll do the same thing to fight to see to it we have a level playing field and a competitive playing field. Another thing you need is labor, and I know H-2B is an important issue, and we had an omnibus appropriation bill. I know most of you that know about omnibus bills hate them, and I hate them too. We ought to appropriate the right way, which is one bill at a time, but the last 7 years we haven't been a very effective Congress, and we haven't had an administration that wanted us to be very effective. So we have continuing agreements or omnibus agreements, and last year in the omnibus agreement, we got some good H-2B provisions in there, but they expire on September the 30th of this year when this year's appropriation bill dies. I know y'all are fighting to see to it we extend what was included in last year's bill for another year to see that H-2B at least works fairly well for 2017. We have that information. We're doing everything we can to see to it that happens. And I will tell you the good news about being dysfunctional in Congress is we end up doing a lot of continuing resolutions, which means we continue doing next year what we did last year. This is one time, it's going to be a big help to all of you. We just continue last year's bill again for the next year. At least those H-2B provisions will be extended for one more year. We'll have a new president, a new Congress, and hopefully a new attitude in Washington, D.C. to deal with the immigration issue forthrightly, because it is hurting our country and it's hurting it badly. The third issue I want to address briefly for 1 second before I talk about politics in general is carbon neutrality in terms of wood and timber. You know, the EPA in the United States of America is becoming a terrorist organization in almost every way possible. They're trying to make fly ash and hazardous substance. They're trying to make Waters of the USA build a law that takes so much effect on our industry we can't even do our industry anymore. And we want to make sure that we at least treat trees in the United States of America like the European Union does. If the European Union says a tree is carbon neutral because it only emits the carbon that absorbs into the tree, then by God, the United States ought to do the same thing. Because we got a lot of timber and a lot of wood pellets I want to ship out of Savannah to Europe for a carbon offset in their global warming type provisions that they have, and I'm going to do everything I can to see to it this year through statute, and not through rule, but through statute, that we get carbon neutrality a part of the law of the United States of America in terms of wood products and biomass. I'm going to make that happen if I can. And you know, it's dangerous to be speaking 2 days after the Republican convention ended and 2 days before the Democratic convention starts. But I was always a live Atlanta wrestling fan when I was growing up, and I think it's going to be a lot like live Atlanta wrestling used to be, or WWE wrestling is going to be. But this is going to be one heck of a year in politics in America. I'm not about to tell you I know what's going to happen, except I will tell you this. This will be the highest turnout in the history of the United States of America. There is a palpable anger in our country. What Bernie Sanders, the vein that he struck in the Democratic primary and the vein that Donald Trump struck in the Republican primary, where they came from nowhere, Bernie almost took it and probably would have had it not been for superdelegates. And Donald Trump obviously won the Republican nomination. But they were responding to people who said they're sick and tired and they've had enough. They had too much government by regulation, too little government by legislation. They had too many executive orders telling Americans what the executives want to do and not enough listening to the people of America telling them what they need to do. And I think that's going to change with this election. I think a lot of people are misreading the American public. It's not a Republican thing, it's not a Democrat thing, it's an American thing. Americans, you know, Winston Churchill once said, America always does everything right, but only after they tried everything else that was wrong. Well, we've tried everything else that was wrong, and we're getting ready to get it right, and that's return to a country of the people, by the people, and for the people. And there are a lot of things that we can do, and I'm going to touch base on 3 of those things that we need to do. Now I'll be glad to open the floor for questions. But number 1 is it's time we had a predictable and a realistic tax policy in the United States of America. We are the highest business tax country in the world. 35% on C Corps, and if you're a Georgia S Corp, you made more than $450,000 last year, your effective tax rate is 42.6%. Well, 35% and 42.6% is confiscatory as far as I'm concerned. And I'm on the Finance Committee. We've been working for the last year on how we're going to change our code, and I'm going to give you a little tip in terms of what we're going to do. First thing we're going to do is go to a territorial tax system rather than the current system we have today. And you might say, what's a territorial tax system? It means you pay taxes on money where you earn it, not double taxation. Today in America, if you're a U.S. C corporation, chartered in the United States of America, and you make money in India like Coca-Cola does, you pay an Indian income tax in India, you bring it out and repatriate the money and bring it to America, you pay another tax on it in America. Well, that's a disincentive to bring money back that's made overseas. And so America doesn't expand like it should, but other places expand off of our laws that are directing the wrong thing to happen. So we need to go to a territorial system that just says that Coca-Cola makes money in India, then the money's paid, the taxes paid to the Indian government, then make it in America is paid to us. That makes a lot of sense. It also makes it fair. One of these days, corporations have an obligation to their stockholders. Your president was talking to you and giving you a report about what the association has done for you. Well, every CEO of every American corporation has to go before the stockholders and say, this is what I've done for you. Pretty soon.
All right, it's obvious.
Okay. Well, that was the hood coming to get me. They do that too. I don't know, they are coming to get me now. But we have got to get a tax system that's fair. We're going to have more and more companies move offshore. AstraZeneca, the pharmaceutical company, tried to do an inversion this year. There have already been a number of inversions that have taken place. And you're going to have Burger King, as you know, went to Canada and bought a donut shop in Toronto, Canada, to move their corporate headquarters from America to Toronto because the Canadian tax system is a better deal. So we've got to make sure we go to a territorial tax system where the taxes are fair and predictable. Second, we need to kill all the gimmicks we've added onto the tax code since 1986 and put in a new, cleaner tax system that's more understandable. And take every dollar that's generated by doing away with phony credits, depreciation, or deductions, and use that to buy down the rate. So instead of a 35% C Corp rate, you have a 27% rate with less deductions but a purer rate. Same thing in terms of ordinary income tax rates that are paid through on pass-throughs on K1 and S corporations. And we need to do that desperately. We'll be more competitive and we'll begin to recover better as a country. Secondly, it is time everybody in the world who thought terrorism was a good idea understood if you practice terrorism and you practice it on the United States of America, we're not going to ask questions, we're just going to kill you first. You cannot contain terrorism, you can't negotiate with terrorists, you can't tolerate with terrorists, you have to take terrorists on one at a time and take it and get them where it hurts. Now, I've said this in a lot of speeches, I've said this on national television, so it's a little harsh, but when I watch what happened in San Bernardino, you know, what happened in Orlando, Florida, what happened in Munich, Germany, whether that was terrorism or not, what happened at Fort Hood and all around the country, I realize it is time we said no to terrorism. You know, terrorism has grown in the last 5 years since we developed a policy of containment. I got it. We'll watch that little bell's getting ready to go off soon. A little sign here says the water's on the desk. Terrorism wins when you begin to cower in fear, and Americans are beginning to cower in fear. They think twice about getting out and taking vacations. They think twice about going to the mall. They think twice about doing things like that. Terrorism wins when you begin to fear practicing freedom. And our country is all about freedom. Excuse me. So the second thing we need to do is send a clear message around the world. We're going to take on terrorism wherever it is, and we do 3 things to do that. We go into Syria, and if it means putting troops on the ground, we'll put troops on the ground in terms of special forces. That's number 1. Number 2, no negotiation with any terrorist organization. And number 3, keep Guantanamo open. When you arrest them and catch them, you keep them and don't let them go. We're recycling terrorists in America. That's the wrong thing to do. It's time we took pride in our country, took pride in our kids, took pride in our freedom, and went after those who would take it away from us. And that's something I'm committed to doing as long as I'm in the United States Senate. Third, I ran a company for 33 years. I dealt with federal regulation, I dealt with state regulation. I've been in government for 38 years. I believe government has a role to play and the private sector has a role to play. But let me tell you what that role is. Government's role is to see to it that the playing field you compete on is level. Your role is to win and compete. We need to end this business of the regulators determining who wins and who loses. Where they overregulate industry and they overregulate business, or they have political regulations to accomplish political goals. I'm sick and tired and fed of it. A lot of the reason we're recovering at a rate of about 1.8% rather than 4% right now is because most American companies and most Americans have put their cash in the bank and they're sitting on it waiting to see what's going to happen next. You have an unpredictable regimen in terms of regulation, an unpredictable regimen in terms of taxation. It's time we put a stop to it. And that's what I want to do. So we'll end regulation that's burdensome and make it fair so you can compete on a level playing field. We'll aggressively go after terrorism and get rid of as many of them as we can, as fast as we can, and let them know if they stick their head out of the hole, we're going to shoot them first and ask questions later. If we go to a fair tax system that encourages business investment and capital formation, then we'll be the America that everybody wants to go back to again, because that's the American we've lost. And I want to bring it back before it's too late, and we don't have many years to do that. But I think we live in the greatest country on the face of this earth. You don't find anybody trying to break out of the United States of America. They're all trying to break in. And for a very good reason. We're the best of them all. The sad thing is, if America ever loses its position, there'll never be another America. Because those forces of evil, those forces of terror, those forces of communism and socialism will find some way to manipulate and regulate and control government and control people. I like the freedom and liberty my forefathers fought for and died for, and I think you do too. And I'm going to do everything I can as a United States Senator, as long as I'm there, to see to it I do everything to see to it we have the America you and I love, you and I believe in, and that all Americans want to have, continue to have for years to come. And with that said, I'll take your questions. Or I'll make a long, boring speech. They teach us how to do that.
Questions from the audience?
Yes, sir.
Senator, obviously, as you're going through looking at tax code, that's certainly a welcome thing for everybody to see, and hopefully something will move on that front. But if there's ever been a long-term capital gain asset,
It's true.
it's trees. You're talking at a minimum 30-year type rotation, and so in order to keep capital flowing into this industry, it's incredibly important that that tax treatment, the tax treatment for the timber land, be looked at maybe in a different light, a different vein, given the nature of this asset class.
My staff's here, and I think I've done an excellent job about not bragging about myself in my speech. Did I do that right, Edward? But since you brought that up, I'll brag about myself. Market and Mitchell, where are the Harps? Here they are. Mitchell, y'all's Cumberland's in Mitchell County. Well, there's a guy named Marcus Collins. Y'all remember Marcus Collins, any of you? He was a revenue commissioner in Georgia. Before that, he was chairman of Ways and Means. Marcus Collins and Johnny Isakson co-authored the constitutional amendment to give a 25% discount on ad valorem taxes for timberland. Because of exactly what you said. It's a and I'm gonna show my ignorance now, but it's a 16 to 20-year product. It's not a 1-year product, so it's not a tomato that you grow 1 year, sell it, and consume it that same year, and go grow another next year. You have to mature it over 18 to 20 years. The tax treatment ought to recognize the long-term nature of that business and see to it that you have a tax system that's fair and encourages that investment, encourages that business, and I agree with you entirely. Anybody else? Okay, you're missing your chance. Well, if not, thank you for what you contribute to our state and our country. Thank you for the taxes that you pay. Be a part of the decision this November. It's your country. Don't leave it to somebody else to go out and vote your vote. You go out and vote your vote. If we have a good participation, if everybody that cares about the country goes out and turns out, we can turn America around. We can go in the right direction. And I look forward to jumping in the wagon and being there right with you every single day. God bless you and thank you.
Everybody, thank you all for coming. We want to particularly thank Senator Isakson and our special guest, Smokey Bear. But to Senator Isakson, thank you so much. You have been a tremendous leader for our state and for our country, and I think everybody in this room would agree with me when we say that we're continually impressed by not only your passion for what you do, the intelligence you bring to it, but also your integrity. And we're blessed as Georgians to have you representing our interests. And with good advocates like you at the federal level and good advocates at the state level, we're just going to remain #1 in forestry in the nation. We appreciate your being here and taking time out of your schedule. We've got a cocktail reception across the way at the convention center, along with our silent auction preview that starts at 6. So we hope that you all will be over there in attendance and we can get together and share some fellowship there as well. But otherwise, the business meeting for the 2016 annual conference is adjourned. Thank you.